Hey Ranger Nation, welcome back to this episode of Power Rangers Dino Fury, the review that we're doing, which is number 12 of the Matchmaker. And I've got to admit, this episode is one of the most groundbreaking episodes in all of Power Ranger history because it did one thing that is never done before, but we're going to talk about that later on in the review. Watching this back in English is so much better than watching it in French. I love the French version, don't get me wrong. I feel like it gives it something a bit different. But when I was watching this episode, I felt like it was slowed down. It felt a bit more dragged out and fleshed out at the same time compared to the French version, which then was just like, boom, happened very quickly and you had to pay quite a lot of attention. But for me, I actually generally really like the English version. I like the French, so maybe if I see it again, I may watch it. But my main priority is watching it in English, so I can obviously review it and enjoy the show at what it's meant to be. I've reviewed this previously, so I don't want to keep going back over and over and over to kind of talk about the plots and the points that we've done today. I will try my best, because obviously now seeing it in English is something completely different than it would be normally. But hopefully, let's carry on. Now, I really think one of my favorite parts in this is the guy that Slifer turns around. So at the very beginning, we find out that Harvey notices that Izzy is wearing perfume, her hair is done, she likes someone, and he thinks it's Adrian. And when you kind of see it being played out, you're kind of led to believe that this is the main thing. It's going to be Izzy and Adrian, and then obviously it changes. But when seeing this, it feels the assumption that Harvey has actually done and the reason why he thinks it is what it is. I do think seeing Slifer being the guy in the background just going like, ha ha ha, I really want that character to come back. So please, hopefully they've done it and that version of Slifer has returned, because I think it's just really kind of cool. And, I kind of wanted to see more of that character. One thing that I find out is that Harvey doesn't have that kind of, when someone says something, you kind of pick up. So he makes the date with his sister as well as Adrian, or who he thinks he's Adrian. But Izzy says like, oh, by the way, Fern's going to be there, and that's, I'm having dinner, meeting up and catching up with her. And like Harvey's like, oh, I just don't care, but cool, yeah, whatever, cool, I'll be there, cool. When they get there, and Harvey asks if they can, if Fern will accompany him to get drinks, and he says like, oh, I've got something to ask you, and she thinks, oh, you're asking me out, and she says, I'm not into boys. He doesn't care. He's like, oh yeah, okay, that's not what I was going to ask you. And then he says like, oh, Adrian and Izzy kind of like each other, can you disappear? Which again is a major dick move. When she's like, oh, okay, I'll say something. No, I'll think of something. So I didn't really like that particular part. It just felt like it was a bit kind of eh. One thing I will say is when Adrian confesses his love, or Slifer does, it reminded me of something like in the medieval ages, the way that he says it, as well as he brings that scroll out and then like starts doing it. Props to the person who had to write that or get that printed. That was fantastic. So that prop was amazing. I kind of wish that I had it. So it's just a really random thing to get made for one episode. But it kind of also brings in the fact that Izzy and Adrian have this kind of, this type moment where, it's like, oh, I'm confessing my feelings. Oh no. And it's the kind of, it's not a cringe moment, but for me, it's more of a type moment. Now the Rangers know that Adrian's been captured. They have to go and obviously pick it up. But you know what you have to do obviously right now is like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Because if you haven't, what are you doing? It helps the channel grow and you want that. But please, if you could like, favorite, comment, and subscribe, that would be absolutely awesome. So one of the biggest things I really like in this episode is the fact that they do kind of like a heist thing where they've obviously given the fake Sporax to Slifer and Mucus and stuff like that. And it's all kind of like, it feels like a heist where it's like, okay, that's been done. Go. And every single person has a complete way of doing stuff. Now, one thing I did also really like in this is the fact that in the buildings, like, obviously that we see in the background, people are working normal jobs and they're not part of the Power Ranger universe. So months ago when we actually talked about this and someone was filming Power Rangers, it's just nice to see that episode come out, but know that someone was recording them inside the building. And that's what I generally was just like, that's really freaking cool. I generally just thought that blew my mind quite a bit. So TV land, normal land, I like it. With all the Rangers doing their stuff, you know, Slifer teleports out. Fogshell, he grows up. They use the same sort of tactics that they used earlier, where the Rangers attack each other because they think they're hengemen. And then obviously we don't really get much. We get the new Megazord, which is the Flame Mignon. I still think the French name for it was better. So Slifer gives Void Knight the Sporex, it turns to dirt. He gets angry, he throws a gong at Mucus, effectively killing Mucus if he wasn't, or if they weren't gel type thing. So I can understand that, but it felt like, you know, I'm just going to cut you in half, which was kind of different. And we see that Void Knight takes off his helmet. And to me, I generally wanted to see more of, like, I'd rather that come off in battle rather than he takes it off and talks to his wife, you know, what's going on. I just generally thought, Now, one of the biggest wholesome moments, which I think is the one that made me smile, is the fact that we see Izzy going off with Fern, and it is a relationship. When Harvey turns around to Izzy and says, look, I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions. He then apologizes to Adrian, and Adrian points out that Izzy really likes Fern and they're actually dating. And you get that holding hands, the fact they're going for ramen, and the being together. That to me was a wholesome moment, and I really liked that. I felt like we don't normally get this, and that was kind of it. I liked it. I thought it was one of the best episodes that we've had in a long time, and I generally really enjoyed it. Now, I kind of want to give my thoughts on all of this, and there's quite a bit to it, so hold on tight. Now, the main part to me in this is finding out that Izzy is gay, and she becomes the first Ranger who is LGBTQ+, and it's kind of cool because she is the first in the Ranger TV series to do this. I know that they've done it in comics. I know obviously they did it in the 2017 film. The moment wasn't forced. A lot of people are saying that they forced this moment, and it wasn't. It was a natural progression. It was a natural scene that happened. To me, it wasn't out there forcing it down our throats, because if that was the case, then it would have been done like that at the very beginning and you would have seen it all the time. It was a good moment that transitioned very, very well. And for anyone who says, oh, it's forced, it wasn't. The writers wrote this in. It wasn't anything to do with Hasbro. They gave their blessing and said, yeah, that's absolutely fine. But it was the writers, it was the people working on the show that wanted this to happen. And a lot of people are thinking that it was all Hasbro. It wasn't. It was the people on the show that wanted it to happen. Now, I'm seeing in comments on pretty much everywhere, Facebook, YouTube, saying that this is wrong, it shouldn't happen. And I have to say one thing. Come closer. Go fuck yourself. Very simple. Just go fuck yourself. No one wants to see that hate. No one wants to read your shitty opinion on it being like, oh, it shouldn't happen. Just don't start spreading hate, because it's a you problem. It's not a problem anywhere else. It's a you problem. And to the people who have been embracing this, sharing this, saying thing, you are amazing. You are part of what the fandom wants. You are absolutely amazing. Now, I saw one comment on another video saying that the show should have been straight a little while longer, and they deleted the comment before I could say anything. And all I have to say is the show has been like that since day one for almost 28 years, and now it's showing change and you hate it. Don't fucking say that sort of shit in the fandom. No one wants to read it. One comment saying that they wanted to keep straight couples a little bit longer, and I have to say, what the fuck? Seriously, get out of here. This comment is absolutely bullshit, and if you don't know what Power Rangers is, you've been watching it for almost 30 years and you haven't grasped what it is. At the end of the day, what about other couples? But we're gonna kind of get into that in a little bit. What I kind of think in this one is that the show is going to do the main thing, what it always does with couples, is they show you that this is a couple together. Take Kimberly as well as like Catherine, Nate, Zoe, as well as Kelvin and Haley. And it says these guys are in a relationship, and you don't see anything at all. You don't see much. I think probably the most you ever did see is with Kelvin and Haley all the way through the series, when they were like being together or holding hands, when they were standing next to each other. And I think that is the most that you're going to get from Power Rangers. Now, I will say this, at the end of the day, if you are against Izzy and Fern being together and you say that Ranger couples can't happen, did you say all this about Tommy, Kim, Kat? Did you say this about Kelvin and Haley? Did you say this about Nate or Zoe? Because I don't remember seeing anything bar that around the fandom or in YouTube comments. So if you're against Izzy and Fern, then you're against all these other relationships, and you should be commenting saying that this should not happen and it should be out of Power Rangers. But I don't think you will comment. People who are saying that they won't watch because of Izzy and Fern, shame on you. Shame on you. That's all I have to say. Shame on you. Where was all the hate for the other couples? Just saying, if you're going to hate on Izzy and Fern, then why not hate on the others? The maximum thing you're going to see is they're going to hold hands and a kiss on the cheek, and that's going to be it. But yeah, that's the video for another day, but I'm going to leave it there. What did you think about this episode? Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you like this sort of content and you want to see more, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as the cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!
チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとう。チャンネル登録、高評価お願い。